A new ranking, and I'm going to add, in my view, a highly questionable ranking of presidents, is turning heads after Biden came in higher than both Donald Trump and Ronald Reagan in his wildest dreams. The survey was done by the Presidential Greatness Project, who claim to be the foremost organization of social science experts in presidential politics. They may be the foremost example of the disconnect between ivory tower academia and real people. That aside, Abe Lincoln ranked first. Okay, fair. Then comes Obama at 7th, and Biden came in 14th, actually beating Ronald Reagan, who came in 16th, and Trump dead last. Look, Lisa, where to begin? This is infuriating in so many ways. 154 respondents. They are the ivory tower elites who in no way represent the view of the American people.
Before we let Lisa speak, let's just cover what we have so far heard. It's Fox News on President's Day learning that a survey of both Democratic and Republican experts that they pretend is just ivory tower elites, but in fact is people who actually know what they're talking about on the subject, ranked their precious Donald Trump dead last of all U.S. presidents, and you're seeing them lose their shit in every way possible while trying to scramble around that polling result, that survey result. And it is very funny to watch. Just the very top of the clip when Kayleigh there goes, in reporting the first line of the story, Donald Trump being ranked below Joe Biden in his wildest dreams.
In his wildest dreams.
You don't put in his wildest dreams in the headline description of the article. Can you have one line in there maybe before infusing it with your very angry Donald Trump ain't the greatest guy in the world opinion? But let's see how they further spin this. How they further, as she then qualified it 7 times and said, in my opinion, this is ridiculous, so disturbing, so troubling. Amy? What did Amy have to say?
No, but it also goes to show you, though, how history can be written and some of it can be built off a lie as well.
It's a lie now. A thing that just came out from presidential experts is now a complete lie. Go ahead, Amy.
Oh, but no, this list is bogus. Everyone knows that, Obama's not that high. He was a terrible president.
The list is bogus. Everyone knows it. That's why you're covering it on the news. That's why your news director made you cover this, and all of you bloated talking heads on the air are immediately trying to disprove the thing you're actually reporting, and you say that everyone knows Obama was a terrible president. Your own co-host on Outnumbered laughs in your face.
He was a terrible president. But I think on this president, sorry, I think on this is just my thought bubbles. You don't want to know what goes on in here. It's a lot. But I think on this President's Day, we're reminded that the president's not supposed to have this much power. The Constitution actually granted limited authority to the president. It was that way until really the 1930s. So I hope that we actually go back to a system of government where the president has less power, where we can decentralize the government and go back to a time where the people hold the power and not the people in charge, where we the people, not our elite leaders.
Wait a minute. Trump is being considered bad. Other presidents are being considered stronger. Take away power from president. Make president weaker president. If Trump's not going to be respected, make president not powerful thing. These are the intellectuals over there at Fox News and their reaction to very straightforward news, very obvious news that Trump has been a complete disaster for this nation and will be again were he to, God forbid, in his wildest dreams, be elected once more.
Yeah, based on what? Based on what do we have Biden's greatness? That he got up, walked somewhere, went on vacation? I'm not sure what we're basing this on.
Yes, Tomi. They based it on the fact that he got up and went on vacation. The presidential historians looked at the fact that he woke up and took a trip and ranked him in the top 15 presidents of all time. You're so right.
The ego here that drives this man is the same ego just a couple weeks ago when he finished his press conference of sorts about the special counsel report and he left and then came back in and made another gaffe. It's that same ego that propels this current president. But like I said earlier, it's going to be the powers that be, the DNC, maybe Obama, that says it's time to hang it up, Joe. And when they do, he will hang it up. Legacy be damned.
Yeah, can you achieve presidential greatness from a lawn chair in Delaware? I guess the historians will tell us one day.
Wow, way to almost entirely ignore the fact that your boy DT was ranked at the very, very bottom of the list. So before we go, let me just read you from the actual survey itself. Respondents included current and recent members of the President's and Executive Politics section of the American Political Science Association, which is the foremost organization of social science experts in presidential politics, as as well as scholars who had recently published peer-reviewed academic research in key related scholarly journals or academic presses. But here's the very interesting part, and I quote, "Examining the partisan and ideological differences among our respondents also indicate some interesting dynamics. While partisanship and ideology don't tend to make a major difference overall, there are a few distinctions worth noting. For example, Republicans and conservatives rank George Washington as the greatest president and James Buchanan as the least great. There are also several presidents where partisan polarization is evident: Reagan, George H.W. Bush, Obama, and Biden, but interestingly, not for Bill Clinton. But here is where it gets especially interesting. Regardless of political affiliation, everyone ranked Trump very, very close to the bottom of the heap. Republicans ranked him 41st out of 46 presidents. Democrats on average, 45th. Independents, 45th. Conservatives, 43rd. Liberals, 45th. And moderates, 45th. So, yeah, maybe there's a tiny bit of political slant, but overall, everyone with a brain and any amount of actual knowledge base admits that Donald Trump has been an unmitigated disaster for this country, despite the fact that everybody at Fox News really likes to laugh about that fact and encourage it to happen again. So that's where we are. We're going into an election, and Trump is leading in the polls because there's media organizations that are propping him up despite the incredible risk that he already has been and continues to be to our nation. Are we going to let it happen yet again? I guess that remains to be seen. I'm Ben Glebe for Rebel HQ.
You can't solve this boogeyman called white supremacy, and that's why they continue to echo it, because they don't actually have to do anything.
You cannot solve white supremacy. It's a boogeyman. That is Fox News host Tomi Lahren claiming Democrats are blowing white supremacy and racism out of proportion.
They just get to fire people up and make people feel like oppressors and victims. And it's a talking point that unfortunately has been very effective, so they're going to keep using it.
That guy on the left, Joey Jones, is a Marine Corps vet who's about to shame Lahren.
White supremacy is not a good thing. I'm all for attacking it where it exists.
And where it existed just hours before the show was on the Mall in Washington, D.C. 150 members of the Patriot Front white supremacist group marched carrying shields and battle drums. They were escorted by police to separate them from a counter-protest. The Patriot Front has made appearances across the United States, and police tracking data shows white supremacist, racist, and anti-Semitic violence in America is on the rise. And yet, there was Tomi Lahren insisting the hatred has been made up by Democrats.
Biden, his entire administration, Democrats as a whole, have been able to use this ultra mega white supremacist threats to democracy. They've been able to use this. It is no coincidence they echo this every time they get a chance, because they want those independent, those Democrat, and especially those liberal voters to actually believe the biggest threat we face is white supremacy, because they can't really solve that. Right? You can solve the border crisis. That's solvable. Donald Trump did it. You can solve national security to an extent. You can't solve this boogeyman called white supremacy.
Did you notice how she put boogeyman in quotes? Well, for the record, boogeyman is defined as an imaginary monster used to frighten children. So Lahren sees white supremacy as imaginary, and she sees the children as American voters who are being frightened by white supremacism. Amazing. This issue has gained traction because President Joe Biden delivered a commencement speech recently at Howard University and said we all need to join together and take action against white supremacy.
Stand up against the poison of white supremacy, as I did my inaugural address, to single out as the most dangerous terrorist threat to our homeland is white supremacy.
Homeland Security Mayorkas followed up President Biden's remarks with this.
In the terrorism context, domestic violent extremism is our greatest threat right now. Individuals driven to violence because of ideologies of hate. Regrettably, we have seen a rise in white supremacy.
Body count for lone wolf terrorists in this country is higher right now than it's been in a long time. And I am for anything to help with that and to have those discussions.
Kudos to Fox host Joey Jones for his honesty and willingness to stand up to Tomi Lahren. It may not help his career at Fox, though, given headlines like this. Fox co-host runs over Tomi Lahren after she implies Biden is blowing white supremacy crisis out of proportion. It is fine to debate whether white supremacy is the most dangerous threat to our homeland. I appreciate the argument that maybe Chinese-made fentanyl is killing more Americans and thus more dangerous, although In my view, fentanyl is not a terrorism threat per se. However, to claim that white supremacism, white nationalism, and racism are part of a fictional boogeyman fabricated by the Biden administration for political purposes, that is absolute nonsense, and Tomi Lahren ought to be ashamed of herself. Of course, self-shame is usually never found among the most popular hosts at Fox News. Their priority is to appeal to the right-wing audience and dismiss any evidence that the right-wing traffics in hate. In any case, another day, another absurd claim on Fox News. Meanwhile, the white supremacist-driven mass shootings keep coming. By the way, in South Carolina, a racist called police on a black photographer exercising his constitutional rights, and the photographer delivered a hilarious verbal jab.
I don't have any kids. Good thing. Excuse me? Thank you, ma'am. Good thing what? Good thing I don't have any kids? You got something funny to say about me not having any kids? I just said it.
Once the police arrived, the racist got a surprise. Check out that video at the link below. I'm David Schuster. Thanks for joining us.